I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Wolf?
Here.
Councilmember Capes?
Here.
Mayor Montgomery?
Here.
Councilmember Strawn?
Here.
Councilmember Rayburn?
Here.
A quorum is present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads for a moment of silence. Thank you. Council, do we have any items to be added, deleted, or changed on the agenda?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would like to request that item 6A, which is the discussion about recycling, be moved to item 5, just after the resolution honoring Stephen Rowe, please.
Okay. Anything else that needs to be adjusted? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Katie, do we have anyone signed up for the public comment period?
Nobody signed up.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Monroe's not here, is he?
No, I don't believe he's present.
Okay. We may come back to that. Paul, would you like to discuss the recycling, please?
Yes, Mayor and Council. As you're well aware, GFL, Green for Life Environmental, is our recycling contractor. They provide recycling services for us. Of course, that's a market-driven field, a lot of specialized equipment, marketing, et cetera. We've got Seth Heath, the general manager of GFL, here to discuss our program, and he will be available to answer questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. As Paul mentioned, I am Seth Heath with GFL Environmental, your recycling service provider for the town of Jamestown. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak before you this evening, primarily because I know we have had some hiccups in service over the past couple of months and just wanted to publicly recognize some of those issues. Let you know some of the things that we are proactively doing to work towards correcting those items. We've been working very closely with Matthew and Paul to identify some of the challenges in town. Definitely not here this evening to talk to you about excuses, although over the past year and a half there's been plenty of challenges in our industry as well as many others that I'm sure you're all more than aware of. But nonetheless, you pay us for a service, and we intend to provide that service to the best of our ability. Like I said, some things that we are doing to address some of the service issues is historically we've only ran one truck in town. We were finding that a lot of the residents were setting a lot of additional items outside of the cart that was provided by the town that was taking a lot of additional time for our driver to get out and physically pick up and put into the truck. We are using an automated style truck in town. We find that the way the town's layout is, the way that most of the recycling is containerized, we shouldn't have any problems servicing it with just one man. We found that has been a little bit problematic at this point, so we've went back and reassessed and have put in a second truck here temporarily just to make sure that we're catching that overflow, although our contract does state that we're only responsible for what's inside the cart. So we're communicating that back to Paul and Matthew and making them aware of those situations. Some other things that we're finding is just that, residents may be putting the cart out a little bit later than what they should be, and we're trying to really communicate back with the town as well. What time we're coming by, we have GPS on all of our trucks, so we can really identify the specific time we are sitting in front of that household. If the cart was there, if it was not there, we're taking pictures, we're providing pictures back to the town as well, just as a reassurance that we were there. So we're just asking that the residents have it out the night before or before 7 a.m. that morning, and that should help really ensure that service is rendered. I believe Paul may have provided some additional information to you, some flyers that I think are going to be dispersed. Just reminding, again, residents about cart placement. We like to have the cart where the handle is facing the house. That way, whenever the cart is picked up by the truck, lids are not getting broken and damaged, and it really helps protect and increase the longevity of the cart. So that's just a lot easier for us and our helpers. Also, there's a nice list of acceptable recyclable items and unacceptable items. A lot has changed in our industry over the past 2-3 years, from China buying less of our commodities to local recycleries stop accepting glass, to different things like that. Glass is still accepted here, so we welcome that. We understand that with more people at home, there's more cardboard at the curb. So we're really working through and trying to be cognizant of some of those situations and just be the best partner that we can be to the town and address them on a case-by-case basis. But really, this list is a true help. Some things that we hear back from the local recycling facilities is bags. Bags are horrible. So plastic bags really jam up their equipment, their machines, create downtime, which leads to additional costs for them, and that it all gets passed back to us. So if we could have some assistance and help with that, then that would really make our lives easier. But I'm here to answer any questions that you have. That's just kind of a general overview of kind of where we stand, some of the things that we're addressing, and just letting you know that we're working to improve upon our service, which I think the past month and a half, we really have shown that we've turned things around.
So, a couple of questions. First of all, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
The cardboard, I see my neighbors putting like cardboard boxes that are collapsed down, they've been cut and collapsed down. It should go in the container, or it shouldn't go out to the street, or is it something that, is there some middle ground on that?
Right, so we understand move-in, move-out situations, or, I was telling a story the other day, my wife's currently pregnant with twins. And
Congratulations, and good luck.
Thank you, still a bit in shock. But,
Just wait.
It'll continue to be.
but, we're in the process of prepping a nursery, so you have 2 of everything. And of course, friends, family sending stuff through the mail, and, everything comes in cardboard. And so I'm sitting there and looking at it, I was like, how in the world am I going to fit all this stuff into our container? And, obviously I'm in the industry, and I want to do everything right and be the good example. So I'm out at the curb, with a service knife, a razor blade, cutting up all these boxes so they'll all fit perfectly inside the container, so the driver doesn't have to get out and pick it up. And you've got 2 cribs, you've got literally 2 everything, and the boxes are huge. So, again, it's a case-by-case basis. We're asking that if the residents would give us a heads up if find themselves in those types of circumstances, maybe call our office so we can notate that to our driver, and we'll be happy to grab it. But whenever we're finding that, 20, 30, sometimes even upwards of 40 to 50% of the town might have extra stuff out, again, that's a driver getting out of the truck by himself, having to dump the can, reload the can, and then dump it again, and it's just very time consuming. So we can work with you, but again, it's on a case-by-case basis, and if there's someone that we feel is abusing it, we're trying to communicate that back.
Got it. So the number at the bottom of this flyer that you gave us, the 668 or 3712 number?
That's our office number that's just up the road in between Baker Road and Civic. So that's where our office is located.
I have one more question, and this is more to the town staff. Can we scan this and put it on our website? Is this possible? Can we scan and put this on our website? It seems like something that would be really,
Yes, we have those, and we will be putting them out on our social media
Sweet.
site here briefly, and we've talked about including them in the mailing. We can also do it on our newsletter mailing blast that we send out email.
I found redundancy on this stuff is pretty good, so probably all the above.
We'll do it.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I have another question about the cardboard boxes, because I've noticed too, I mean, I'm guilty, the majority of the boxes that I see have, cardboard sitting beside them. Is there a way, if everybody on a street put it in a centralized location, or is there any way to do that, you don't want to put stress on you, but at the same time,
Right.
I mean, realistically, I don't see people cutting it into small enough squares to fit inside. And we
Right.
have 2 cartons, so, or 2 rolling carts, and still, there's
Right.
a lot.
Understandably. So yes, some municipalities that we service do have, just speaking from experience, that they will have some overflow type containers that they might put at their town hall or a community center. You can do a dumpster that's slotted so that way only cardboard can fit in there, and you can advise them if you have overflow that week, take it there free of charge. We're good with all of that. And that's definitely something that we could work with the town on to provide that service. That's not a problem at all.
Have you standardized the route that the trucks take? That seems to help
Right.
around town if people have a clue what time they can expect it.
It does, and we do try to standardize it as much as possible. What will change that is, again, if the driver was picking up that same cart at the same time every single week and didn't have delays from, sometimes the truck breaks down. Again, not an excuse, not your problem, but sometimes he'll have to drive back to the shop, get another truck, or, get something fixed, drive back to the route. Sometimes that's just things that's out of our control. But if there's additional things out at the curb, that can delay him, so it might take him 30, 40 minutes later to get to a certain section of town versus, when he would normally get there. So if he loads the truck out sooner because he's picking up additional, then he might have to break off, go dump, then come back. That all takes additional time. So there are some variances. Again, that's why we ask everybody, just if you can have it out the night before or by 7 a.m., then you're ensured that you're going to get service. But I agree with you, and we do try to standardize it as much as possible, but sometimes it's just not feasible.
And one of the other concerns is making sure that all of the streets are serviced.
Right.
Because I know sometimes we
And I know what you're
little bit of
speaking
problem.
of. There was a specific day that we did have a service issue like you're mentioning. Again, we can only service one side of the street at one time. That's a safety function of the trucks. So as we're going up one side of the street, obviously there's carts on the other side of the street, so you're going to have to make sure you come back up the other side. So the truck packed out early that day, meaning that he needed to break off, go to the dump. So he went to the recycling center to dump all the contents off, came back and kind of had lost track of where he had needed to restart and forgot to service the second side of a few roads. We identified it and came back later in the week and had all that taken care of.
Yeah, that was the next day, and thank you, again, I want to echo what John said, as far as coming. I know it takes a lot sometimes to come and admit failures and try to stop, check, and go forward with a new clean sheet, and I appreciate that, I really do. Specifically, one of those streets you were talking about, where missed one side, didn't do the other, was unfortunate, because one of the report backs to me was that driver made comment, I think it was, that those cans weren't out when he came through. It happened to be my side of the street, and mine went out Sunday afternoon. So
Right.
I'm glad that you're going with the GPS, because then it's a true, this happened.
Right.
I like that, and I appreciate that you're doing that. I think it's important. One quick question about the toters itself. And I think the confusion on the toters, whether it's one direction or the other direction, lid facing or away, was originally you guys were pulling them over to the truck and then doing it that way.
Right.
And they wanted to grab the handle. So the education became, with everybody, all right, turn them around, and not everybody gets we could put out 10,000 notices and people still won't, I didn't get it.
Right.
So that's probably part of our issue as well, that we didn't educate enough on that to get them to turn it around so that you can have that. But thank you for coming and helping us with that part of it. The toter itself, if the lid's not all the way shut, are they gonna drive by it? Because
No,
some of
no,
the
no, no.
issues with some of the cardboard, you can't get it all down there, along with your weak supply
Right.
of everything else.
Right.
So if it's sticking out and the lid's down, are you still gonna be able to dump?
We're still gonna dump the cart, and like I said, we're gonna work with the town and be a good partner to you. I understand that there's a transition period. We hope to get some of this educational material out on social media, website, et cetera, and maybe that fixes some of the problems. Possibly even discuss the dumpster, and that might help as well. So we're going to continue to be a good partner, but I wanted to make a statement that we're going to have to start finding some solutions. Otherwise, we may need to discuss either pricing or something like that, because it's taking a lot longer to service the town than what we feel like it should.
How many
A
other
lot of
towns
that's-
equivalent to our size do you do?
Say what?
How many other towns do you do that are equivalent to, say, our size?
A number that are a lot larger. Town of Oak Ridge, for example, town of Midway, town of Walberg, town of China Grove. Those are all handled here locally.
Have they come up with any best practices in those other towns that might be useful for us to know about?
Each contract is a little bit different, it's priced a little bit differently. Just if I understand, you guys do your own trash service here, and if for some reason you were ever to one day get out of the trash service, but you wanted to still provide that same level of service of twice a week, that's something that you would have to, put in the RFP. And that would be what we would essentially bid on. So I think that each town is a little bit specific as what their wants and needs are. But we can do whatever we need to do, and we can really specify the truck and the type of people, but it's just obviously impacts price at that point.
Are our wants and needs odd? Or is it pretty standard? I mean, left
I think-
side, right side, up and down the streets?
I
grab
think
them and-
that's standard, yes, sir. That's very standard.
One other question for my education. So if the lid's not completely down,
Right.
Lawrence is about the cardboard, does the driver have to get out, or can the mechanism still lift it?
Driver's gonna have to get out, reload the cart, and then dump the cart a second time.
Gotcha.
So, I understand that the trash service in town is still used with residential rear loads, but again, our company is ultimately, safety is first and foremost, so the less contact we have with, the contents, the more it's containerized, the safer it is for our employees, and that's ultimately goal number one for us, so. But like I said, you're not asking for anything that's outside the norm, just to answer your question specifically, but we're going to continue to do our best, like I said, to provide the service that you're expecting from us, and then work back towards hopefully the contract language.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Any other questions, council?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Mr. Monroe, would you step forward, please, to the podium? We appreciate your service, and we want to honor you with this resolution. Whereas Steve Monroe has given of his time and talents serving on the Town of Jamestown Planning Board as an ETJ member from January 2015 to May 2021, and whereas he has contributed to constructive change throughout the Town of Jamestown and the ETJ area through his involvement on the Planning Board, and whereas he has a plethora of unique interests and the residents of the town have greatly benefited as a result of his desire to serve, and whereas his sincere concern for equality of opportunity for everyone in the community, no matter their circumstance or background, was apparent to everyone around him, and whereas he volunteered to serve as a comprehensive plan steering committee member, and whereas the updated comprehensive plan will be used by the Planning Board to help guide difficult decisions for the next decade. And whereas his service in both his public and private life has been willingly given and cheerfully given, and he has contributed immeasurably to the success of community endeavors and to the betterment of the quality of life for many of his fellow citizens. Now, therefore, I, Lynn Montgomery, Mayor of the Town of Jamestown, on behalf of the Town Council and the citizens of Jamestown, do hereby express our deep appreciation to Steve Monroe for his distinguished years of service and do extend our best wishes for the next chapter of your life. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your service,
Thanks,
sir.
Dave.
Thank you.
Well, Your Honor, you were kind enough to point out somebody did the research on this. My concern for this second most beloved place I've ever lived in was Jamestown, is for its future. And one of my hot buttons is what we call workforce housing, is that Jamestown would be a place where school teachers, registered nurses, police officers, EMS people could come and afford to live and raise their families. And I have gone to a place I've moved to a place in High Point where I'm the token old white guy. I'm within walking distance of a neat little golf course, but I'm being accepted there for just being who I am. But it's not Jamestown, and I will always treasure my years here and the opportunity to work with you all as you grow and strengthen this incredible place, the place to be in North Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Katie, would you talk to us about the appointment of Parks and Recreation Committee members?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. There are currently 3 vacancies on the Parks and Rec Committee. The following citizens have submitted their applications for consideration of appointment: Charles Clapp Jr., Amy Reese, Phyllis Bridges, Summer Foster, Denise Bowie, and Peggy Levi. Unfortunately, Summer Foster and Peggy Levi do not qualify to serve because they live in the town's ETJ area. However, Peggy Levi is interested in serving as an ETJ Planning Board member. Charles Clapp Jr. and Amy Reese are both currently serving as Parks and Rec alternates and are willing to serve as full-time committee members. Staff recommends that council appoint 3 people to serve on the Parks and Rec Committee and appoint 1 person to serve as an alternate.
Council, do we have thoughts on this?
Well, of course, Charles Clapp Jr., as you said, is an alternate, and Amy Reese is an alternate. They've been on there since 2018, 2019. Denise Bowie, she worked on the Parks and Rec Master Steering Committee, so I think she has experience with where the Parks and Rec is trying to go on some of that. Phyllis Bridges, I saw where she was, or is, very active in the High Point Preservation Society and the Washington Street Historical Preservation Society. And my neighbor is very active in Washington Street Historical Preservation Society. So I did ask her if she knew Ms. Bridges, which she did, and said she is certainly well-versed in working on boards. She's all about community. She would be an active participant. My suggestion, or my motion, would be to appoint Charles Clapp Jr., Amy Reese, and Denise Bowie as active Parks and Rec members, and Phyllis Bridges as the alternate.
Second.
I had a quick, because I know that in the past, we've sometimes talked about going by application date. And it looks like Ms. Bridges applied in April and Ms. Bowie in May, so I don't know if that's something to.
The only reason I said for Denise was because of her participation recently on the
Right.
Parks and Rec Master Plan Steering Committee.
Okay.
I stand by my second.
And the alternates attend these meetings? Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Okay. Now we'll move on to our planning board.
Yes, so there are currently 2 vacancies for ETJ Planning Board members. Robert Kuhn, Donald Dell, and Peggy Levi have applied for consideration for appointment to the board. Jason Spangler is currently serving as an ETJ alternate and wishes to remain an alternate at this time. Robert Kuhn is also an ETJ alternate, and staff has confirmed that he would like to serve as a full-time member. Staff recommends that council appoint 2 people to serve as ETJ Planning Board members and 1 person to serve as an ETJ alternate.
Well, of course, you said Robert Kuhn is an alternate, so, and he is in Cedarwood, so Steve moving out, who was a Cedarwood, that area representative, it'd be good for Robert, I think, to be appointed. And Donald Dale, he's Hidden Valley, which Richard Newbill was, so you're sort of getting that representation. And then, of course, Peggy Levi being an alternate. So I would make a motion to appoint Robert Kuhn and Donald Dell as active members and Peggy Levi as an alternate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Dave, would you speak to us on the consideration of adoption of the strategic plan?
Yes, thank you. Mary, you'll notice that I have your glasses
glasses
again.
again.
That's 2 months in a row that I've forgotten mine. And they're extremely more stylish than the ones that I wear. But nonetheless, I can see.
They make your eyes pop.
I'm not receiving that from you. One of the things that mayor and council reiterated to me when I interviewed for the interim town manager is that you wanted to make sure that we had a clear direction for our town, and that you wanted to see some work done on a strategic plan that would take where we are, where we wanted to go, and come up with a way to get there. And so as we begin to interview the mayor and the council, the staff, citizens, chairman of the planning board and others, we came up with a system that had outcomes, which are very broad directions for us, or focus areas. We came up with goals that supported those outcomes, and then we will be working, starting in July, on preparing action plans, or what I call game plans, that would outline the things that need to be done to make sure that that would happen. And also getting some software that would help us manage the goals and the teams that are putting this together. So we have, since January, I think I presented the draft copy in March, and I know that at some point you'll be very tired of me talking about this and wondering if we can get something done. But on the system that we have down here, there's also an element in here that talks about review. And I think we talked about, since we have started this in earnest in March, that rather than June and July, we would talk about the things that we've accomplished from January through June. And we have a little color coding system, blue being complete and green being significant progress, moderate progress, pending, and no action. And this is a 3 to 5 year plan. And so you can even look down on what I shared with you, and you'll see actually some yellow and some green and a blue. And these are the things that not the manager has thought of, but these are things that the mayor, the council, the staff, and others, and we've gone over this many, many times, and we feel like we've come up with the direction that you're setting. So it's me working on your stuff rather than me working on my stuff. And so once we have this clarity, then I will know how to deploy the resources that we have to accomplish the things that you want to see done in the community. And I'm very pleased with where we are now. We also have what you have identified as priority goals that have stars by it. And so we have those things listed, which are the ones that we're beginning on first. And we're working on several at one time or another. And so I have presented these to you, and we have been over them, and my recommendation is that we would adopt the Town of Jamestown strategic plan, and this is a 5-year plan, and that we begin working in earnest on it. Now, the other thing that this would work is, from time to time, everything that we've anticipated at this date may or may not be something we want to do in the future. So if there are things that the mayor and the council want to add, we can add those things, generally at the retreat that we will be having in January of next year. Now, you may have to do this without me, because my time runs out December 31st. And I'd be sorely disappointed if we weren't doing that in January. I might come back to have to visit. And you all don't want that to happen. So, we have set a course here, and if there's things that need to be taken off that have been completed, we take it off. So this is not a plan that sits on the shelf. This is an active, viable, fluid plan that we begin to work on. And I want to congratulate the mayor and council for undertaking this effort. The public may or may not know the work that you've put into it, but I think we have captured the things that you thought were most important. We put them down on paper, and we've begun to work on them. And on some of these particular outcomes and goals, different ones of the elected officials are working with me on. And whenever we have talents in a small town, well, we put people to work. And so some of y'all are working with me on, and the staff on some of these ourselves. As I say, the public may or may not know what all y'all have done, but I feel like we have an excellent plan. I'd compare it with what they're doing anywhere else, big or small, and I think the principles are the same. And I think that as we focus our resources, that we are going to get more done than you ever thought possible. And so with that, if there's any questions, I'm sure you probably don't have any because you don't want to hear me go on and on. But if there are no questions, I would request that the mayor and council approve the strategic plan for the town of Jamestown on this date.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dave.
Judy, would you present our annual budget?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In May, we presented what we call the recommended budget to you. Since that time, there have been just a couple changes made to the budget. Total amount of the changes, $22,500. And this represents, it is all in the general fund. No other funds changed other than the general fund. That amount represents $9,000 in administrative department, $3,000 in planning department, and these were all having to do with contracted services for various things. And then $10,500 in the golf maintenance department, and this is to purchase a deep tine aerating implement that is needed because the greens are really compressed. So those are the changes since it was last presented. So the total budget as of this budget, which we're just calling the annual budget, excluding interfund transfers, which is only, transferring back and forth between some of the funds. The total budget amounts to approximately $11,800. $11,800,000.
Little difference. What a deal. Just a decimal.
You're good.
And this represents a 12% decrease from the current amended budget for the year 2021. The budget as presented includes no tax increase,
Yay.
so the tax rate will remain at 48.5 cents per $100 of valuation. We are, however, it does include a 3% increase in the water rate, as that is, what we have gotten from our supplier of the water, as well as an approximately 8% increase in sewer rates, as also given to us by the city of High Point. So, the one change, the purchase of the implement, did result in one change to the CIP, the Capital Improvement Program. So we did add that to that. Other than that, there were no other changes in the Capital Improvement Program for general fund or water sewer, other than that one. Any questions regarding the budget as it's presented
I don't have anything.
at this point?
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. At this time, we'll open the public hearing to anyone who would like to speak about the 2021-2022 annual budget or the capital improvement program. At this time, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and please adhere to the 3-minute time limit. At At this time, we request anyone who would like to speak to please come forward. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and return to the floor for council discussion. Any additional discussion?
Well, I'm comfortable with the budget. I think we have discussed it over several months. As always, I thank the staff and Miss Judy for all your hard work on it. I know it gets a little harder every year, I think. But I do appreciate all your work, and so I'm comfortable with it.
Me too.
Agreed?
I am, Tony, and just to echo what Martha said about the staff, I've seen where some agencies and places tend to really pad a budget just so they can buy this, that, and the other, and I'm very impressed with the fact that we don't do that. We pinch a penny till it screams as best we can, and I appreciate that because I am a taxpayer, and I want to see it remain low, but still have the best services that we can, and I appreciate the work that staff does to make that happen for me as a resident.
Second.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the 2021-22 annual budget ordinance.
Second.
This is a roll call vote.
Yes. Councilmember Wolf,
Aye.
Councilmember Capes,
Aye.
Councilmember Strawn,
Aye.
Councilmember Rayburn.
Aye.
The motion passes.
And then I would further make a motion to approve the resolution adopting the CIP program for the fiscal years 2021-22 through 2025-26.
Second.
All in favor? Second?
Aye.
All in favor?
You got it.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Anna, would you like to present our next item?
As soon as the PowerPoint, the projector wakes up, I'll be talking about the rezoning for 6014 and 6016 Westgate City Boulevard. These are two parcels adjacent to the CAM campus of GTCC. The application is for a change from Civic to conditional zoning commercial.
Be here before you know it.
As I mentioned, 6014 and 6016 Westgate City Boulevard. This proposed rezoning is from on that side of the road, across from the Publix and some new construction there. This is from the north view. You can see the CAM campus in the front and those two parcels on Westgate City Boulevard. From the south, similar views. You can see where the florist shop and things are there. On the east side, you would be looking at Publix. As you can tell, there's been a lot of construction here, and as you know. And from the west side, again, where you'd see Publix and the construction of the Chick-fil-A. So, land use facts, these lots are currently vacant, cleared land, it's generally flat throughout. They're bordered on the north by Civic use, GTCC campus, the Center for Advanced Manufacturing. To the south is Conditional Zoning Bypass, that's the Grandover Village complex. To the east is industrial, I won't try to pronounce that, Alberjink-Boli.
Yeah. Perfect.
Is that good?
That's it.
Thank you. And to the west is conditional zoning commercial. That's where the nail spa, the textbook store, State Farm, and Blossoms is located. So this is property is located in the adjacent developed with water and/or sewer area per the land development growth strategy map. It's identified as industrial use on the future land use map. As y'all know, before it was Civic, this was the Daimler Chrysler location. So it was previously an industrial use before Civic use. This property has been reviewed by the Public Service Director during our TRC meeting. and found that it can be served by Jamestown Public Utilities for both water and sewer. The applicant request is a rezoning from Civic to conditional zoning commercial. Again, please see your packet for the list of uses. The reason is in order to enable the parcels to be utilized for the limited uses as requested. The planning board did meet on May 10th, 2021 to discuss this request. Apart from the applicant, there are no speakers for the public hearing, and the planning board unanimously recommended the rezoning in a 5-0 vote. Sarah Glanville is here to present the planning board's recommendations to the council. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer.
I do have one quick. Matt, could you go back to the overview that had the red line on it? Yep. It's just a quick question. I know some years back, we tapped out a sewer line. I think we ran it across and then let it stop on that side. Is there an easement or right-of-way that the drawing I'm looking at looks like it goes right through what they're proposing? Where does that pipe drop out over there that we planted for future growth and expansion?
We put a water main up under Westgate City Boulevard, kind of in front of Sheets, or, well, actually, I guess it's closer to Blossoms. And if you see, that there's a new vault there that has like a Bilco hatch. We actually tapped it in, I think, about 2 years ago. It's just before Publix opened up, to improve water pressures in that area to complete our loop. So
we're not going to have a right-of-way going through any of that then?
no, it's well out into the right-of-way. The right-of-way goes, or starts very close to the buildings. We're probably 40, 50 feet inside the right-of-way with that vault.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions? Thank you, Anna.
Thanks, Anna.
Sarah, would you step forward and give us the planning board's recommendation?
Good evening. Anna made it sound a little more formal than I was prepared for. I don't have a formal recommendation to present to you, but yes, the planning board unanimously voted to accept the rezoning and recommend to the town that, or to the town council that you vote to rezone the, per the request of the applicant, that we believe that the request is in line with the other development going on around that area, and that any civic use for which it's currently zoned is quite limited. There probably aren't a lot of opportunities for civic use at that time, at this time, or probably in the future. So it's in line and seems to conform to the town's land development ordinance. And so we are in favor and recommend to the town council that you accept the applicant's request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll open the public hearing and ask the applicant to come forward.
My name is Charlie Melvin. I'm a lawyer in 230 North North Elm Street in Greensboro. About 8 years ago, worked with Mitchell Johnson at GTCC in connection with acquiring the old Daimler Chrysler bus facility. And it was quite a large facility at that time, and since then, GTCC has converted that facility into its advanced manufacturing portion of the campus. Dr. Randy Parker, who was the then president of GTCC, though, thought because of the size of this facility and its location on Westgate City Boulevard, he had the vision that these two parcels that have been described to you tonight could be subdivided off of the main parcel and ultimately, at some time, appropriate time, converted to a commercial use, long-term lease, source of income to GTCC. These two parcels were conveyed to GTCC Properties and are presently owned by it. And so GTCC now feels that this is an appropriate time, and they have started looking for potential users of the properties. They say it's primarily they would like to enter into long-term leases to commercial uses, to commercial users as a source of income to GCCC. But to do that, we had to initiate this rezoning request to rezone the property for commercial uses, and of course, request annexation of the property into the town of Jamestown. To start the process, we did meet with planning and others. We had some sessions as to how best to initiate it. We felt that the best means of doing that was through a conditional zoning, conditional use. And so we formulated a schedule of uses that we felt would be compatible with the GTCC campus and compatible with this portion of the town of Jamestown. And so the zoning that's before you limits the use of these properties to those specified in the zoning application, and we gave some considerable attention to limiting those that we did feel would be compatible with GTCC's campus, the town of Jamestown. And so we do feel that these will be good and appropriate, compatible uses in those areas, and would request that you follow the planning board's recommendation and approve the zoning of them and annexation of them into the corporate limits of the town of Jamestown. Mitchell Johnson is here. He has a long history of working with this property and looking to its present and long-term uses. So either he or I would be happy to respond to any questions.
Council, do we have any questions at this time?
One quick one. I assume you guys you look long-term and you've shared with us what your focus is and what you would like to do. So if you've looked at roadside turn-off and turn-in, parking lot, those sort of things, I know that's way down the road potentially, or it could be next week. But those are things that, you know, there's already that turn-off going into Sheets and then into your building that's there. I don't know, is there going to be potentially another driveway there or something like that?
And Mitchell Johnson can probably give you certainly more detail on that, but there has been considerable interchange with NCDOT as to how access is going to come and go from those. But as you point out, it's very important that that be done in a manner that will complement and not be a detriment to the extensive revisions that have been done to the transportation. So yes, a good deal of attention has been given to that. Any other detail, Mitchell?
I'd be glad to try to answer a little detail. Thank you, Mr. Charles. Mitchell Johnson, VP for Operations and Facilities at GTCC. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the council, for entertaining this. There was a previous turnoff that existed that went into the property, and NCDOT has allowed us to maintain that, so you can see the curb cut is still there. Basically, our arrangements with NCDOT is once we determine who the leaseor might be and what the configuration of the property might be, we're allowed to keep that turnoff as a right-in, right-out only access to that portion of the property. We have also contemplated access from the parking lot, from the traffic light through our, we call it a loop road. It doesn't really loop all the way around, but it provides access to the back, but that has some slight grade differences that depending on the developer, they may choose to have more parking lot as opposed to a loss of parking to create an access there. But the primary access would be a right-in, right-out access that exists now, only potentially relocated a few feet one way or the other, depending on the development.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, I had read through these, the conditions and the appropriate uses here, the permitted uses, and I appreciated y'all taking that time, and I think these are all, from what I can read, they'd be appropriate. And this may be more of a question for the staff, just in looking through those. You've got the the drive-through window as accessory use with an asterisk that says, subject to additional development standards. I thought you might just talk about that a little bit. What would that be?
So the current ordinance does have uses subject to additional standards. It would be whatever the ordinance says about those additional standards, and I don't have them in front of me, so I can't answer the question based on that, but it doesn't vary from the current LDO.
Okay. Well, like I said, everything that's going around there is commercial in nature, so to me, it's logical, it makes sense for this zoning to be approved. And I would assume if for some reason you did want to change a different use, then you would have to come back through the planning board process. So-
That's correct. We go to planning board and then back to council. That's correct.
So I'm comfortable with these uses that you guys have laid out for us.
Okay, at this time, I'll ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and return to council. Any other comments or concerns, council?
I want to echo what Martha has said. There's been, a hint of conversation that we know what's going in, it's already been approved, or whatever, those sort of things. We've not been presented any plans, we've not been presented any building structures or anything. And even in the future, when it does, I want the public to understand, it's got to go through the planning board and then all the things that go along with that, and then come to us to make a vote on. So I want to ease the folks out there that are more worried about the congestion and trying to get in and out of places like Sheets and things like that. So I just want to make sure folks understand it's not a done deal with a building already ready to go up.
Good call out.
And it is, as Martha said, consistent with what's going on around there, so it would seem fair to allow GTCC Foundation to use it in this way. And not that this would be the primary benefit, but it is nice that this also would help strengthen GTCC and, a trusted institution locally, so.
Do I have a motion?
Well, I would make a motion to approve the rezoning request for 6014 and 6016 Westgate City Boulevard from Civic to conditional zoning commercial with the conditions restricting the uses of the property as presented.
Second?
Second.
Yes, Councilmember Wolf.
Aye.
Councilmember Capes.
Aye.
Councilmember Strawn.
Aye.
Councilmember Rayburn.
Aye?
The motion passes.
And
Consistency statement.
Yes, I make a motion that the proposed zoning amendment number 2021-01 be approved based on the following. One, even though the proposed zoning amendment is inconsistent with the adopted comprehensive plan of the town of Jamestown, a change in conditions in meeting the development needs of the community has occurred since the adoption of the plan. These changes include GTCC has purchased the site and used it for civic purposes. Also, the current development in the surrounding area is commercial in nature. And two, the proposed zoning amendment is reasonable because the town staff report is adopted by reference. The town council finds the proposed zoning amendment to be reasonable and consistent with the current zoning and trends in the commercial development in the surrounding areas and coordinates planning with surrounding jurisdictions. And the proposed zoning amendment is in the public interest because the town staff report is adopted by reference, and the town council finds the proposed zoning amendment is in the public interest because the conditional zoning will carefully manage growth and strategically locate new land development in the most appropriate places. And the town council also approves the amendment to the Town of Jamestown Land Development Plan, or the Comprehensive Plan, to reflect this zoning amendment.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Matthew, would you review the annexation request?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Under the General Statute 168-31, the town received a petition for annexation of the properties located at 6014 and 6016 Westgate City Boulevard. A resolution directing the clerk to investigate that petition was passed at the April 20th, 2021 meeting, and the council adopted the certificate of sufficiency at last meeting in May 18th. The council set a public hearing, which is this evening at this time, for the consideration of the annexation of those parcels. There's a copy of the ordinance in your packet, and as well as a map. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
This time, we'll open the public hearing, and would the applicant have any information to add with this? If not, I'll ask if anyone else would like to come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and return to council for discussion.
Well, of
Any
course,
discussion?
this is in the town's ETJ, and I mean, it's just logical that we would annex it per the applicant's request.
Agreed.
You present that as a motion.
I will move then. I didn't know if we had some discussion, but yes, to annex, to approve the annexation request for 6014 and 6016 Westgate City Boulevard.
On, oh, that's a roll call.
Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Councilmember Capes?
Aye.
Councilmember Strawn?
Aye.
Councilmember Rayburn?
Aye.
The motion passes.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I may, Anna did a good job of quickly finding the restaurant with drive-through, the drive-through accessory use standards, just so that you have them. I was going to read them.
Thank you.
The drive-through with service windows, stacking lanes, and circulation are prohibited in an established front setback of the principal building or in an established side yard which abuts a street. Drive-through service windows, stacking lanes, and circulation are treated as components of on-site parking for the purposes of buffering. The length of the on-site stacking lanes taken together shall be a minimum of 200 feet if the window access is provided directly from a major or minor thoroughfare, a minimum of 100 feet if they're provided directly from a street of lesser capacity. The drive-through lanes must be distinctly marked by special striping, pavement markings, or traffic islands. A separate circulation drive must be provided for passage around and escape from the outermost drive-through service lane, and buffering is not required for walk-up service accessories such as depositories or ATMs. Just wanted to give that to you while we
Right.
find it. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you. Good job, Anna.
Judy, would you present the information on the capital project ordinance for the Oakdale sidewalk?
Oakdale sidewalk Phase 2 has actually been around for a while. We originally had this in the, as part of the general fund. And there was just a little bit of, there was some design work done while it was in the general fund. But now that, we're moving on to the construction part of this, I'm requesting that we establish a capital project fund to put this sidewalk project into. This would be a multi-year fund, so, as long as it takes to do the sidewalk, the fund would accommodate that. And so there is a resolution to adopt this capital project ordinance, and the amounts are what were originally approved for this project, construction of $200,000, and there will be a 80% federal funding on that, and then a 20% match is required from the town, which amounts to $40,000. We did, while it was in the general fund, we did actually expend approximately $9,000 and something on the design works. So the remaining amount of the match is just a little over $30,000. In order for us to include this match in the capital projects fund, I'm requesting a budget amendment be approved. Budget amendment number 26 would make a transfer from the general fund into the newly set up Oakdale Sidewalk Phase 2 Capital Project Fund in the amount of $30,103.
Any questions for Judy?
Well, so the design work is done. Now, this is really not pertaining to setting this up, but I don't know if Matt or Paul can say, have you gotten any word from DOT about releasing the projects that were in the design phase? I've tried to get an answer on that. Last thing I heard was it would be January, but I may be behind on that.
Well,
I haven't got it.
I'm not.
Okay. Well, I'll be glad when we get it started, because the people on Oakdale Road are calling me and they feel left out, neglected. And I've assured them we have not forgotten them, and we will build that sidewalk.
And emails as well, we get
Yeah.
those.
So I would move to approve the resolution setting up Oakdale Sidewalk Phase 2 Capital Project Ordinance Fund and approve budget amendment number 26.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Beth?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have in front of you a very short extension of Dave's employment contract. He's going to happily be with the town through the end of December of this year, and his hours have been slightly adjusted to 26.5 per week. Everything, all the other terms in the original contract that you approved when we hired him are the same, exactly the same as they were before. It's only the date and the hours have changed.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Beth.
Thought we were going to have time to say nice things about him.
See y'all move right
Glasses
past
on.
that.
Keep the glasses, they look great on you, Dave.
Okay. Dave, do you have a manager's report for us?
I think we've covered most of the items, but I did want to say that sometimes it's hard to keep up with 180 pages of text. But one of the things that I wanted to mention is that we are proceeding with the recreation maintenance facility. And I think the borings were today. So we're moving along with that process, the survey and the borings, and then we're moving that forward. And the one thing that today at 10 o'clock, one of our goals is implementing strategies to recruit employees from diverse populations and a process for filling and advertising openings for residents on our different boards and commissions. And one of the things that that the staff attended today at 10, and the board also was invited, inclusivity and belonging in the workplace. And this lines up with one of our goals. And we will be working with the North Carolina League of Municipalities on a new racial equity program that's being offered through the league. And I think I have discussed with y'all, there were two ways to do that. One was direct conversations, which would allow us to participate with 9 other communities for a period of 6 months, and the other was a direct consulting, which would be working with the league to work specifically with our board. And this morning I referred to that as working with a meat cleaver versus a scalpel. And so I thought rather than participate with 10 other communities, all looking at different sizes and shapes and kinds, that we would have someone work directly with our board as we work through these different items. And this is part of the game plan for 2 of the goals that the mayor and the board did. And I appreciate our mayor and council taking a proactive stance on this and working with our staff and the board to look at issues pertaining to this. And the other thing that we have done is we have talked about our strategic plan, and we talked about the need sort of to update our mission, vision, and values to clarify them a little bit. And we've set up a meeting with Mr. Warren Miller of Fountain Works, who would facilitate a meeting with our mayor and board on the 15th of July at 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock here in this room. And I think if we were able to get that done, that is one of the goals for the mayor and the board, and I think you all wanted to get to it early to put it with our strategic plan. And after that, one of the important things that the mayor and the council were very insistent upon is that we know that at some point the Johnson Farms property will develop, though we're no longer working with the developer, the current developer. We know that others will come in their place. And the mayor and the council felt like we needed additional information so that y'all would be in a better position to make decisions on development that might come in. And that afternoon, Mr. Miller will be participating with Vaughn from Benchmark, and we will be inviting in providers of water and our wastewater and police and fire and other services so that we can evaluate the impact to our community based on new development in that area and also some other areas that have been identified through our planning. And so we will be preparing that as your staff and then bringing that back to the mayor and the council to see if there's anything we have down there that you don't want us to look at, or if there's anything that you can think of that you wanted us to look at that we left out. And once we get that clarification, we will begin that process, and we'll be depending upon our partners, to give us input, because a lot of this will be dependent, upon partners that we have that are providing services in us. And so the whole thing is to understand what the impact is, what we can do, what we can't do, so that we're in a position to answer questions quickly. And rather than have something happen to us, we would like to be in advance and having, to be in a position to help plan and guide and influence the development so that when things do happen, it will be more consistent with what the mayor and the council and the planning board and the citizens feel like is in the best interest of the town, realizing, of course, that we will not please everybody. Hopefully we will, I know that's a shock to you, Lawrence, but
Not everybody?
we certainly will try to please as many as we can, but I think, we will do a very good job. And our job is to influence the development, because we know it's not if that is going to develop, it is, it's not, and it's when. And so we know that it's coming, and so we hope to be prepared. Those are your directions for the manager and the staff, and that's one of our big priority goals, and so we will be working on that starting in July. And when we have that together, we'll share that with you as to what we'll be coming back with. And then, I think the best elected officials are the best informed elected officials, and our job is to make sure that you are well informed, and you have requested that that be done. And so we are going to be out the direction that you have given us. In the next morning, Mr. Miller will still be with us. And we will be doing some training and a workshop for our employees on what I call game planning. And I mentioned, we have mission, we'll have vision, we'll have values, we'll have a strategic plan, we'll have outcomes, we'll have goals, we'll have game plans to support that, and eventually we'll have software to help us manage the goals. And again, we will be reporting back at least 2 times a year on progress made, or more often on certain ones of them. So I want our reports to be on what it is that we're doing to accomplish the things that you have set out, because you made it very clear that you want a great direction for our community, and you want a way to evaluate your town manager and staff on how well we get to where we're going to go. We only have 29 employees. We are working very hard. I think our workload has picked up, but we're excited about the possibilities of the future. And we're excited to, turn to now that we have the plan approved. So I just share that with y'all as a reminder. These are things, there's certain decisions your staff can make, and there are certain decisions that the board has to make. And these are some of the things coming up where we need your guidance and direction. And so thank you for your time. I don't know whether the general public, you just don't show up once a month here. There's a lot of work that's done in between the time when we meet. And so I appreciate the extra time that you're putting in to make sure that we get off to a solid start for the new fiscal year. Now that we have a budget, we have a strategic plan, and we have a lot of work to do. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Dave.
Dave.
Thank you.
Dave, if I could just say, I appreciate the fact that you put it on paper and making it quantitative. We can look at results. It's measurable. It gives a focus. I think that if the staff hasn't told you, I imagine they have, without a doubt. It gives them some clarity, and as well for us, we don't have to keep asking, and it kind of disappears for 2 months and then it comes back. These are things that we can look back on and see progress in those reports. They mean a lot to me, I'm sure it does to everyone else, but we can see and measure it. And when we're asked by the public, and we all are, in a multitude of ways, we can say, well, we're making progress and these are the things that are happening versus, I asked them 3 weeks ago and nothing's gotten back. And I want to say, for me personally, thank you, thank the staff for putting it together and keeping it going.
And the one thing, the work that we're doing just didn't start with this plan, but I think we captured the things that you all thought were most important. And now we are reporting back to you on those things that you have approved. So this is your plan, the elected officials, for the direction of our community. And so I think we've captured these things. We're going to focus our resources, and I think we'll receive a better value from the staff and the financial resources. And I think we will get more done, the fact that we are better focused. And I didn't do this by myself. I did this certainly with your help and with the outstanding help of your staff. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, do we have any committee reports?
I had a TAC meeting on May the 25th, and DOT reported again that finances are stable. And I know, Judy, we got a lot of our reimbursements finally, so that's great. But they did state over the next several months, we may get an idea of project cost changes or scope of project changes. So I don't know if that means when projects are being bid out and we see, building materials are more expensive and harder to get, and if we'll see some problems there, I don't know. But DOT has really been focusing on litter pickup. Rebecca and I have had many conversations about this.
Yay.
And actually, one thing they told us, in their statewide, they've been, working on this, they discovered an illegal dump site in Davidson County. Now, this is the representatives told us that, and that they removed 200 tons of trash from this illegal dump site. Can you imagine? And they said statewide to date, they have picked up 6.3 million tons of trash.
A lot of litter bugs out there.
And of course, they asked that we continue to stay locally involved. And one thing Rebecca and I have talked about, on Ragsdale Road there across from Food Line, I had some people call me, and I have talked to Paul, and Public Services are going to try to pick up in that area.
Right.
But I've seen you go out and pick up with your family, so I
Better than just seeing it all the
I know.
time. It's there again the next day, but.
I know,
well.
but, you've got to clean it up, or just,
Yeah.
it's worse. But I think I mentioned this last time, Elizabeth Greason, who did organize our April community litter sweep, she has supplies, so if anybody individually or has a group that would like to set up some kind of litter sweep, to please contact her at the town hall. and all of us together can, try to keep it clean. They did say that the High Point Tran has resumed normal services, but masks are required through September. The June 22nd meeting has been canceled due to lack of items, and their meetings now are being a hybrid meeting. You can come in person or you can do it virtually. That's what they're doing right now. There's no meetings in July, so it'll be August before they have the next meeting. And John, you'll be interested in this. I have finally set up a meeting with Wright Archer, the Division 7 engineer, with Paul next Tuesday afternoon to tour the town. And first thing we're going to tell them about is the ped head there at Black Powder. And then Paul has a list of other things we want to tell him. So we're going to be ready for him. And he sounds like a really nice fellow. I've met him virtually, but I'll get to meet him face to face. So that's all I had to report.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha.
Well, wait, there is a little other thing, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And Paul will dispute this, but the DOT has that the Green Lydia sidewalk will be complete June of this month. So I'm sure Paul's saying that's not going to happen. You might need to talk to Donnie over there. That's still on their schedule.
I'll let him know.
Okay. And then the bypass, they're stating, or the Jamestown Bypass in our area, they're saying in January 2022. That's another one, I don't know.
They pushed that out.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They give any indication when they're gonna tear out Oakdale to make
No.
that underpass?
No, and I know Paul's been asking that same, well, ask Wright Archer. Maybe he can tell
There
us
you go.
next week. Yeah.
Before we go any further, Paul, quick question. I don't want to put you on the spot, and please don't get up. I know you're favoring a leg right now. But as far as the delays related to Lydia, can you recap what exactly is the holdup right now in terms of progression? Because obviously, it's not going to get done in June. Ain't going to happen.
Well, we've been held up for, say, roughly 6 months of very little going on due to the railroad permitting, and we got that resolved. And since then, we had some contract issues that we worked out with the contractor, but he has ordered the materials. We require some special grades of pipe that they don't keep on a yard. I didn't get to, Martha and I spoke earlier in the day, but following up with them later in the day, I found out, I thought they'd be coming in early July was the lead time.
All right.
Based on what we were told previously, but a text that I received earlier in the day told me it would be in around the start of August when they'll be back. I did not get to talk to anybody about it yet. But.
Sounds familiar. Okay, I just want to make sure we keep that in the public discourse because I know people are asking, and I just wanted to.
We're so close.
I'm with you.
So close,
I'm
but so
with
far
you.
away.
Exactly. Appreciate everything you've done. I don't have anything to report.
Okay.
I have one thing when you finish, just one quick thing.
Okay. Dave?
I'd like to ask Derek if he would come up. And today, there has been an announcement from our fire district, and we have a new chief for our fire district, and I'm not quite sure who it is. Derek, would you like to tell me?
Today, the Board of Directors appointed me Fire Chief for Pinecross Sedgefield, effective July 1st. So.
Congratulations.
He came to me last week, and he said, Dave, after this week, we have the board meeting, he said we want to get together and talk about plans for the fire district and for the town and how we can partner together. And I can congratulate the board of directors of the fire district because they selected the very best. Certainly they're located right next door, and their level of professionalism, a Class 2 rating for our community, and an excellent contract that we have with them. And I'm delighted that they have chosen him because there may be some as good as Derek, but I don't think there's any better than the chief that we have.
You're here.
That class two means a lot, because a lot of people don't understand how that affects their homeowner's insurance, and it's very helpful. So kudos to you guys for all the hard work on that, and congratulations.
Yep, thank you. And I'd just like to say I'm excited and honored to move forward in this position, to serve in this position and lead our department and work with you guys, the council and the staff, for years to come. We're excited about the what's to come for our department, and leading that's pride and a lot of honor for me. So thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Okay, the only thing I have to report is tomorrow we get to have a PTRC meeting for the first time since February 2020.
Wow.
And Win Scott, our high school rep, is not with us this evening because he is pitching in the first game of the playoffs in Charlotte tonight. So we
Another
hope
no-hitter
that
for
will
him.
be successful. He graduated with honors on June 5th and then had his Eagle Scout ceremony on June 6th. So I think that we have chosen well for our high school representative.
Definitely,
this past year.
definitely.
And
Did we skip that? Or not that?
no,
Paul?
no, we did that earlier.
Okay, I was asleep. Sorry.
Okay, do we have any other business, council?
Well, I think we ought to just remind everybody about the music event starting back up on June the 18th and July the 2nd. And I appreciate y'all getting that on the calendar of events on the website, because not everybody goes on Facebook, guys, so website, we still need to use it. And I wonder if there's any more news about the American Rescue Plan? We got any more information on that?
No, not really.
It's June, I thought we were supposed to get some money, but June's not over with.
Still
it.
waiting. I'll let
Yeah.
you know when we get it in.
Okay.
That's government at normal speed.
Not over.
And I believe is the town hall is going to open to the public the beginning of July?
Yes.
That's the plan.
Okay, well, then it made me wonder, will the council return to our chambers for our July meeting?
That is up to the mayor and the town council.
I think we're good here.
I think since we have the microphones in here now.
You know,
So we can
it's been an
project.
evolution, but we've
So
got.
we have abandoned the council chambers? This is now the official council chambers?
My personal feeling on it, just to get it out there, is that having been wedged in the old council chamber numerous times with a lot of folks, this is a much better environment as we continue to see and encourage people to come in and to be present and to speak. I just feel like this is a better venue for that circumstance. I mean, I have a lot of respect and appreciation for the history that goes into the original council chamber, but my opinion is that we need to grow beyond that, and I think this has served really well, and we've grown into it. I think we'd almost feel like we're getting wedged back in if we went back to it.
I feel like for now, at least, even though I'm glad that rates are low enough that, you know, we can have people coming back in, you know, still, not everyone is able to be vaccinated yet. You know, I have a 5-year-old who, you know, who knows, hopefully she'll qualify soon. But I think, you know, we still are in a pandemic, although again, thankfully, things are looking up. But until we're at least through that, I feel much safer in a larger area.
Thank you.
I'd like to add.
I don't have any difference of opinion when it comes to safety over there. I think that I feel comfortable over there. I've served in that room and on many different boards since way back to 2005, and a couple of times now on council and other boards and meetings, and I like what that table does as far as bringing folks together, that aspect of it. But I think also we grow in so much that fitting everybody in there has become a little difficult. Just in seeing sometimes when we have special events or special readings or things that we're, plaques or whatever we're giving out, it's standing room only and people standing outside and that sort of thing. So I like this in here, but I'd also like to see what, you know, the staff has in mind for that area back there and what we have in mind for this area right now. And I understand, you know, this is temporary setup, but I'd like to see how this is going to turn out to change my mind one way or the other. So I want to see the end focus of what this is going to look like, and what would be done over there if we moved out.
I just remember one night when I think Lynn had a scout troop come out, and there were 17 scouts. And then we still had an audience of about, 15, 16 people. I forget what the issue was. By the time it was all done, it was like Spam in a can. And I just feel like if we're going to go back to that, and God willing we are in terms of having scout troops coming in and doing things like that, that we can better accommodate so that, they might want to stick around and watch because they all kind of ran out after that.
Well, to that point as well, look back there. We've had 0 people come and talk about things, so hopefully that'll pick up and people will be involved in the community and come in here and tell us whether they meet us one-on-one or talk to us outside of it, but make their voice heard and be present. I'd appreciate seeing that. As Dave says, we do a lot behind the scenes. And I'm telling you, my pocketbook is just getting so thick with all the money I make by doing this, according to the people that accuse us of making money. We don't, and we're doing it because we're supposed to do it, and we're called to do it, and that's the way it should be. But I'd like to see the folks come in and talk to all of us at once so that we can hear what they truly want out there and, show the interest that everybody tends to do on the keyboard versus coming in person. And if we encourage more and more and more people to come, we're going to need the additional space. We can't have a good-sized meeting in that section or in that room that we have over there. So,
And factoring in future growth.
I want to see the end product. I want to see what this room is going to look like, how it's going to be dressed versus white sheets and those sort of things. I want to see that before I could say, yay or nay with staying out or in.
Thank you. I want to hear everyone's opinion. I appreciate it.
Okay. Any other business that we'd like to address at this time?
No, ma'am.
I'd make a motion to go into closed session per General Statutes 143-318.11 to discuss matters relating to attorney-client privilege for Lori Herron, 2216 Guilford College Road versus the town of Jamestown.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Second.
Motion to go back into session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Motion to
opposed?
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.